We're having an in-depth discussion of religion, faith, and politics with three presidential contenders, John Edwards, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton. There was quite a little dust-up that Republicans had in their debate over the question of evolution.
I believe in evolution. It's perfectly possible to make our faith, my faith belief system, consistent with a recognition that there is real science out there. The hand of God was in every step of what's happened with man.
Do you think homosexuals have the right to be married?
No. Not personally. Now, you're asking about me personally. But I think there's a difference between my belief system and what the responsibilities of the President of the United States are. The substantive rights that go with partnership, civil unions, for example, and all the substantive rights that go with that should be recognized.
As President of the United States, don't you have a duty to go with your moral belief?
I think I also understand the distinction between my job as President of the United States, my responsibility to be respectful of and to embrace all. I think one of the problems that we've gotten into is some identification of the President of the United States with a particular faith belief, as opposed to showing great respect for all faith beliefs. What has happened in New Orleans is a national embarrassment. Everything I can do, everything in my power that I'm able to do, I will do to drive the issue of poverty in this presidential campaign so that everyone is required to talk about it. Because I think it is the great moral issue of our time. Having a living wage, making sure that workers can organize themselves into unions. I will be out there fighting with everything I have to help the poor in this country. I can promise you that.
In the war on terror, is God on the side of U.S. troops, would you say?
Well, you know, I always remember Abraham Lincoln when, during the Civil War, he said, we shouldn't be asking whose side God is on, but whether we're on his side. I think violence and cruelty, wherever it's perpetrated, expresses evil in the world. And I think that all of us have an obligation to speak to that and act against that forcefully. Abu Ghraib obviously is something that all of us should be ashamed for, even if I believe Guantanamo, the decision to detain people without charges, is unjust. And so the danger of using good versus evil in the context of war is it may lead us to be not as critical as we should be about our own actions. There's a brighter future ahead. And that's the kind of faith that I think has to inform not just our international policies, but also domestic policies as well. And when there's a child somewhere here in Washington, D.C. who is impoverished in a crumbling school without prospects and hope for the future, then that impoverishes me. If there's a veteran in Chicago that's foraging through a dumpster, those obligations have to express themselves not just through our churches and our synagogues and our mosques and our temples, not only in our own families, but they have to express themselves through our government. I also like to see executives recognize that when they're getting as much in one day as their average worker is getting in an entire year, that there is a moral element to that, that's problematic. One of the things that happened after welfare reform was that we made sure that everybody had to work at some point. Unfortunately, we didn't lift them out of poverty. America is a land of success, and that's terrific. We just want to make sure that people are sharing in the burdens and benefits of this global economy.
Do you feel you have a moral responsibility for your vote?
Certainly, every vote has a moral implication. You know, we're debating immigration right now in the Senate. I think that is a highly moral debate as to what we will do as a nation with respect to immigrants. What I'm trying to do now is to figure out how we get out of Iraq and how we get out as soon as possible, bringing our troops out.
What do you ask God for?
Oh, Lord, why can't you help me lose weight? Sometimes somebody asked me if I were a praying person, you know, shortly after we'd been in the White House. And, you know, I said, yes, I'd been fortunate. I was raised to pray, but if I had not been a praying person, shortly after coming to the White House, I would have become one in a big hurry.
infidelity in your marriage was very public, and I have to imagine it was incredibly difficult to deal with. And I'd like to know how your faith helped you get through it.
When you're tested, it is absolutely essential that you be grounded in your faith. In talking about abortion being safe, legal, and rare, and by rare, I mean rare. And it's been a challenge because the pro-life and the pro-choice communities have not really been willing to find much common ground. And it should not be in any way diminished as a moral issue, no matter which side you're on. We have let too many children to sort of fend for themselves morally. I mean, I think that we have failed them in our churches, our schools, our government, and I certainly think the, free market has failed. We've all failed. Having more than 45 million uninsured people, 9 million of whom are children, is a moral wrong in America. And I think we can't keep talking about our dependence on foreign oil and the need to deal with global warming and the challenge that it poses to our climate and to God's creation, and just let business as usual go on. And that means something has to be taken away from some people.